Heading into this season, Canadiens management said the goal was to be in the mix for a playoff spot this season. After Tuesday night's 7-2 beatdown by the New York Rangers at the Bell Center, which left the Canadiens in last place in the Atlantic Division, familiar territory, it seems unlikely the Habs will be in the mix this season. We'll discuss that and much more on this week's Hockey Inside Out show. Welcome to another episode of our weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and Stanley Cup champions Chris Nyland and Rick Green. So, Knuckles, I know you were at the game Tuesday night, and it certainly didn't look like the Canadiens will be in the mix for a playoff spot after the loss to the Rangers. What did you think about what you saw?
Well, they're going to be in the mix. They'll be in the mix for the first overall pick. They'll be in the mix. Listen, how many times I got to say it? We said it on here. We talked about this last week. They are not a good team when it comes to defending, and they're to try and score goals. They seem like they take a lot of risk, and obviously there is risk involved when you try and score goals, but the game is never going to change. When you have the puck, you're trying to score. When you don't, you're trying to defend and get the puck back. And these guys just seem to make the same mistakes over and over again. You look at some of the goals. I mean, I get the third goal. Hudson, he tries to deke at the blue line. Worst place, right, to turn the puck over. We saw it at the end when Barron got hit. Worst place to turn the puck over is that blue line. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You got to be aware who's on the ice. You know, I think it was the second goal when Trouba and Mayu come down. They both go behind the net, leave the guy wide open. You can't do that in this league, especially against a team like the Rangers, who have depth and experience. They have big players, strong players who fight for the puck, want the puck. The Canadiens last night looked like they didn't want the puck. You know, they had some opportunities here and there, but I don't see the intensity with them. I don't see the passion, I want that puck. I'm going to hang on to that puck, do everything to get that puck. I'm going to defend. The first goal, Kirby Dach coming back, that's his man. He's behind him, and you can't stop and take a breath when you're on the ice. You have to be on your toes, be ready to go all the time. And this team, they just got steamrolled last night and showed a lot of glaring weaknesses that they have.
Well, they stopped playing on that icing call, right? Also, Logan Mayo just stopped skating and let the Rangers win the race for the puck, and the icing was called off. And Rick, what did you think about the defensive play?
Look, if this is a mix that we're supposed to be, excited about, they better change the recipe real quick, because obviously the continual errors over and over that they do make, giving up what they give up, it's not going to work. And look at 4 goals in the first 11 minutes. Are you ready to play? Are you committed to the system, whatever the system is? Because I think we've touched on, we're not sure exactly if everybody knows what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing. But, the bottom line in all of this is you've got to care. Right now, I find the team is, so passive, uncommitted, if you will. And this is dangerous territory when you see a group that's not, doing everything they can do and showing what they can show. And you can say, they're frustrated, or they're lacking confidence. They're young, but you can't continually make the same mistakes over and over, and then watch them try and defend and understand what they should be doing from the blue line in. It's got us scratching our heads trying to determine what they're supposed to be doing. And it's when you give up those type of chances against each and every night, we've said it before, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's really tough to watch.
Well, back-to-back games coming up on the weekend too. Saturday in Montreal against St. Louis, Sunday in Philly against the Flyers. Rick, it looks this could go off the rails pretty quick. I think you've been in that situation before as an assistant coach with the Canadiens. What's that feel like, and what do you do?
It's not very comfortable, and you have to be accountable as the coach. You have to have structure. You have to have guys that are following what they're supposed to follow. But one thing remains the same is, in order for the players to really buy in, if you will, the information you're giving them, they have to see the results. And when you run into trouble is when they're trying something that they're being taught or instructed to do, and it's not happening. And it's very easy to, take a shortcut, find excuses. And we used to always say, try and take all the crutches off the middle of the floor because somebody will grab it. And that's a bad situation. Yes, it is still early, but the feel and the sense that, myself and I think a number of other people feel is they're not on the right track to get things going the right way. And you got a lot of guys that are underachieving, a lot of guys that seem disinterested, and they're really missing a lot of character and guys that really, really care about, doing a good job. And that's tough as a coach, and to put your finger on it and, to push the button to get those guys to respond is a huge challenge. And it's not a very comfortable environment right now.
That's a great line about the crutches on the floor. And Marty had a good line after the game too, when he said they shot themselves in the foot, and it's hard to win when you give up a field goal before the first TV timeout. It seems like a trend though. They're getting off the slow starts. I know, Chris, you said in the past, this team needs more men. It looks like that's a problem.
Those players don't grow on trees. I get it. But, a lot of draft picks, there's a lot of talent to some degree on this team, but how does that mix? Right now, it's not mixing too well. When we look at the experience they have on the team, Yoel Armia, David Savard, Gallagher, Josh Anderson, and maybe I'm missing one or two. And the rest is a lot of young kids coming in and trying to get a job done. It just, I don't know. Again, is it the right mix? And I'm going to give you examples of players, the type of players they need. Sam Bennett's, I think I said it last week. Kachucks.
They could have had one of them.
They need a few of those type of players. I would like to see Abajaki back in the lineup. Yeah, he had a slow start. The kid cares. He sticks his nose in there. Yeah, he's made some mistakes. I get it. But, I love to see that guy back in there. I think it gives some of those other players a level of comfort knowing he's in the lineup. And I don't care what you say. It's not like it used to be. But when you have one of those guys in the lineup, the other team might pay a little more attention and be a little more respectful when it comes to being in a 6-2 game and with 4 minutes left or whatever was left, and he runs one of your guys when you're already kicking the shit out of him on the scoreboard. Now, if the Rangers were losing 6-2, I could have seen Trouba doing what he did because he's pissed off. But, not to have somebody in there to counter that. And it's great what Mike Matheson did, but leaving it up to him, not good. So, they seem, they play small. How often do we see him sustain any forecheck and get cycling down there? The odd time, but really, when we look up the other end of the rink, the other team does it to them. They were in there last night again. They had a shift in there for like over a minute and 20 seconds, a minute and a half. I was like, hello? When does it ever happen up the other end of the rink? It doesn't. So, I think they play small.
I think what made the game even worse, Chris, is, before the game, they honored that 1970s dynasty team. And I know times change and there'll never be another team like that with the salary cap and whatnot. I know you were with those guys at the game, Chris. What was the reaction from those guys watching the beatdown?
Well, I was with them before the game. Okay. I wasn't with them the whole game. I had stuff I had to do, and I didn't get to see them. But, it was great to see all those guys from that team. I absolutely... You should look at them all. It's just all grizzled hockey players. I love it. I'm a grizzled hockey player myself. But Yeah, and God, I hate to sound like I'm being so hard on these guys, but we're into the third year here now. You got to start to see some results. I don't think they're going to go win the Stanley Cup, but there has to be consistency in the way you play. And the only consistent part of it is the losing part, the part where we're giving up so many opportunities. That's a consistent thing, and that's not good. That's not good for a young team. Confidence wise, they just, it doesn't seem like they have any.
And I don't disagree with you, Nux, and I don't care who's in the lineup, but collectively they have to be on board with how they need to play to have success. And when you give up 4 goals against, when you give up 27 good prime scoring chances just from the Rangers game, not to mention some of the other games, prime time scoring chances, whether it's the 3 or 4 posts that they hit or just blatant defensive errors, these things just don't work, and you have to identify that and eliminate them, or it isn't going to happen. And man, oh man, I tell you, it's not a complicated game, but for whatever reason, they seem to be playing a complicated system right now, where guys are getting beat and guys are on the wrong side of the puck. And guess what? We look at, oh, there's another breakaway. Oh, there's another guy, getting a wide open opportunity standing in front of the net with nobody around him. This is just really tough to watch. And this is your goalie cannot be your first star every game. And it seems that they have success when their goalie is their first star every game. And you can't do that. I mean, there's no more Carey Prices around. You have to, as a group, have to buy into a program that's going to eliminate a lot of the stuff that's happening, which is really, really lax in their responsibilities, and eliminating the opposition from getting really good chances to score, and not having the defense, going up the ice all the time, getting caught, giving some odd man rushes, hoping the forward's going to come back. That's a high risk. That's a high risk play. Some guys can get away with it, so they can skate well, but over the course of the season, you have to be really selective, and I don't think they are selective. And I look at Hudson. The classic rule was, if you're the last man back, you don't try and beat. He's a young kid. You don't try and beat the guy. But I always believe, back up your partner, back him up. I don't know if Savard was going to make a change. Maybe I saw him wave his hand. But if you see this young kid going up the ice, don't be on the boards waiting to see what he's going to do. Get behind him and protect him in the event that he does exactly what he did do and lose the puck. So there are just some miscommunication, and positioning is struggling as far as how they're helping each other out. And you look at the Rangers, so the cohesion that they have, there's always supporting the puck no matter where and who has it, and a real good hockey team. And you can see the faults that the Montreal Canadiens have when they play against good hockey teams like that.
Well, the Rangers, year 6 of their rebuild, I mean, they were also able to get Artemi Panarin as a free agent, which certainly helps boost the rebuild. I think the game just showed how much work the Canadiens still have ahead of them. But Knuckles, is some of the shine maybe starting to come off of Marty St. Louis? It's been sort of a love affair since he came here.
Listen, I know he's not a dumb hockey guy, but I think he has his mind made up the way he wants his team to play. And I don't know if these young kids can grasp what he wants, or they're doing it and it's just not working. Because, when you look at the way he played the game, he's an offensive player, right? I look at a guy like, let's say, Lemaire, and everybody hates the trap. I get all that. But Lemaire, he had Steve Shutt and Guy Lafleur as wingers. Who the hell took care of the defensive zone? Jacques Lemaire. So he knew the value in both ends of the rink, and he could play both ends of the rink. I'm not saying Marty couldn't, but the system he's putting across, there seems to be a lot of risk there. Well, and someone might counter that with, well, we tell them to have a third guy high when the D-man pinches. We tell them to have a D-man back up as D-man when he's carrying the puck. We tell them that, but they don't do it. Well, is it too complicated for them? Or are they just like, I'm going to do my own thing? But I think the system I know I played under Lemaire, and I know the game has changed, but the game's still the same. The object is to put the puck in the net and keep it out of yours. And that system, depending on what team you have, the Habs are not like the Rangers. The Rangers are a seasoned team. They got some good vets. They got a damn good hockey team. And when you're trying to compete against that, if you're going to go blow to blow with them, forget about it. You got to find a way to frustrate that team and keep them off the scoreboard and be able to be an opportunistic team. They're trying to create all their opportunities by getting in, taking risks, pinching, doing all that stuff, and it's going to burn you sooner or later. And I really, I know people don't want to hear it, but if this team became a team that was a little more patient and had more defensive structure, they could be more opportunistic and maybe score some more goals and also defend a whole lot better.
Well, a lot of talk after the game, too, was the big hit by Trouba on Justin Barron. I don't know. Was it a dirty hit? Was it not a dirty hit? I didn't think it was a dirty hit. I thought it was more a case of Barron putting himself in a vulnerable position and dropping his head just before the hit. I don't know. What do you think, Rick? You threw some big hits during your day, and
not really.
just when I had to play against Nyland because he's one of the few guys that I could catch. But anyways, you got to know as a player, we had guys like that we played against, for years. That's the way they made their living. You have to be aware when they're on the ice, something bad or a good chance something bad is going to happen. So be aware and don't put yourself in a situation where you can get hurt. I always talk about Peter Sabota. I said, don't do those things. You're going to really hurt yourself. So, Barron, kind of got being on his wrong side. He didn't really see him coming across, but Trouba, that's what he does. So don't be looking at your pass and hope that you made a good pass as you're scraping your face off the guy's shoulder. To me, it was a clean hit. He caught him with his body. His Barron's head was kind of down low, and the impact, unfortunately, really hit him hard. And I hate to see that. It's just really hurts to watch it, but it's part of the game. But guys, be aware who's on the ice. Just make sure you try and protect yourself because the game is physical, and know who's on the ice so you don't get yourself in a bad situation.
Yeah, listen, I slow-moed it. I played it slow. I said everything. I was trying to find where it was dirty. It wasn't. He's low. He comes across, shoulder right in center mass, and it's unfortunate. There's some onus on the player there. You can't do that at that point in the game. What I will say I didn't like about it, how much time was left in the game?
7 minutes about.
Okay, it's 6-2 game.
Yeah.
Do you really have to do that?
But that's the Trouba train, right?
But do you really have to do that? Mm-hmm. And again, then someone will say, well, play to the whistle. I get all that. Play to the whistle. So I see both sides of it, but I could see that happening back in the day, playing against Boston, and, we're up 6-2, and one of the Bruins runs one of us. Well, it's coming. Be ready for it.
Here comes
but I think in a game like that, they weren't. I don't know. You got to be ready.
I know one thing for sure. If it happened and you were sitting on the bench, you would have chased him down until you caught him, and you wouldn't have cared if you had to drive home to catch him. So we didn't. I mean, Mike Matheson, trying to stick up. Good for him. He was trying to support his teammate, but some other guys that were maybe in that lineup, I thought maybe would have made a little bit of a stronger statement, and would have called on Knuckles to go in and scratch his eyes out.
My good friend Tim Burke just texted me this morning. He said, Trouba would not have got out alive if you were playing.
That's Tim
But
Burke, the former Gazette columnist, Knuckles.
no,
Oh,
he's assistant GM.
okay.
He was my roommate
Another Tim Burke.
in Halifax my first year. He's from Melrose, Mass, from just outside of Boston, but he was GM with assistant GM with Doug Wilson out in San Jose.
All right. Well, I mean, I thought Trouba had his shoulder down in the hit, and then it looked like Barron dropped his head just before the hit. And part of the NHL rule on headshots includes this, factoring in, and this is quotes now, whether the opponent put himself in a vulnerable position by assuming a posture that made head contact on an otherwise full body check unavoidable. I think that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Well, Scott Stevens did it for many, many years
On Eric Lindros.
and hurt a lot of guys. So
Tweety birds.
Yeah, we got to hope Byron. I mean, he's had some concussion issues, and he also has a history of putting himself in some vulnerable positions. This isn't the first time. I was speaking with Jake Evans after the game last night, and he's had, unfortunately, been the victim of some vicious hits like that. And he said he didn't like the hit; he hates to see it. But he also mentioned, young guys, you got to be aware who's on the ice, whether it's a superstar like Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby, or whether it's a Trouba, and know who's on the ice and what situations might arise from that.
And it's really, unfortunate. There's another defenseman that's going down and, getting hurt and changes the mix. I mean, it's all part of it, but it's tough to try and, build chemistry. You try to put guys together to complement each other, and you can't get anybody together for more than 5 games before you got to, change that up because of injury. And it's unfortunate. And how do you identify why it's happening? I don't know, but just be a little more aware, guys.
Well, one of the, I guess you could call it a bright spot for the Canadiens has been the play of Oliver Kapanen and Emil Heineman, the two rookies who made the team at a training camp. Marty St. Louis chose them in the shootout against the Islanders. Knuckles, what have you liked about these two young guys?
Listen, for two rookies like that, I mean, they've come in here and really, been assertive with the puck. Pretty good. Was a Heineman got a really good release when his shot, right? Really,
cool,
yeah. And the both of them seem like they have hockey sense, understand it. Now you're fitting them into a team here who's struggling, and I think their play is going to stand out at times, and it depends who you put them with. But I like what I've seen from them so far. But again, young kids. And we need more men. I get it, but you got to be able to sprinkle these guys. There's so many young guys on this team. Who's taking that step forward? These guys have shown a lot in the early going. It's a lot of positives, put it that way, in the early going. And you got to find that right mix. And right now, I just don't see the mix.
Well, the game against the Rangers was Kapanen's first at center, and he won all 3 faceoffs he took. So that's faceoffs have been a problem.
Positive.
Yeah, Rick, what do you think of these two young guys?
Yeah, I mean, I like these two young kids, but let's give them time. I mean, they're averaging 10 and 12 minutes per game, and not in the best of situations as far as overall team play. But they have the tools, they have the ability to skate. They seem to want to compete and and do things when they have the opportunity. And give them some time to see if they can develop and be part of the mix on a more than a 10 or 12 minute basis. But they have the tools from what I've seen. Now let's handle them the right way so they can develop and contribute each and every night. But the good news is they're pretty good players with their heart in the right place.
One last scratch before we end the show here. Michael Pezzetta, healthy scratch for 6 games, gets in the lineup. Knuckles, that's got to be tough, right, for a guy to come in that situation?
Yeah, again, listen, he's a heart and soul guy, but I'm sure having Heineman and the other kid in the lineup didn't help him at the start of the season, right? And then Abba was playing. Do you have 2 guys that play that type of role, that tough guy role in the lineup at the same time? Yeah, you can. They did last year. They're going to need him at times this year on the road. There's no question. It'd be nice to see him get in earlier, but listen, a little surprised, but then again, not.
Yeah, and the thing with Pezzetta, sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just going to say, what you see is what you get with him. He cares. He tries to do and play his role the best he can. For the amount of ice time he gets, every team seems to have a guy like that, and that's the reason why he's around.
Yeah.
And he would love to stay in the lineup. He would love to do whatever he's got to do. And it's tough coming out of the stands and then jumping in there and making things happen right away. So the good news with him is he's a good quality kid and he cares.
Yeah, he's a great teammate, and it's interesting because he sits right beside Kapanen and Heineman in the locker room at the Bell Center. And I was asking him the other day, what's it like sitting beside the two guys who basically, you're sitting out because they're playing. And he said, I do everything I can to help these kids and cheer them on and support them. And he said, I hope they do the same if one of them is sitting at some point and I'm in the lineup. So he's a really good team guy. He's not going to bitch and whine and complain if he sits out. And that's one of the reasons he's in that position. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. We'll be back with a new show next week. In the meantime, please make sure you like and subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. Go to montrealgazette.com/newsletters to sign up for the Hockey Inside Out newsletter. And of course, go to hockeyinsideout.com every day for all the latest Canadiens news. Also, please leave your comments on the show in the comment section below. We always like to know what you think about the show, what you like or maybe don't like. Hopefully you like a lot more than you don't like. Busy weekend for the Canadiens. Back in action Saturday night when the St. Louis Blues visit the Bell Center, and then they travel to Philadelphia and play the Flyers Sunday night. The Canadiens have not been good on back-to-back games going back to last season. So enjoy the games, and hopefully the Canadiens put up a better performance than they did against the Rangers. Talk to you again soon.